You're listening to the Communications Business Advisor podcast, the podcast for communications professionals in the corporate world who are committed to advancing their work and our field's reputation as critical business advisors that are not only invited to the decision-making table, but are required there. I'm your host, Tara McDonagh. Hello, and welcome back to Season 2 of the Communications Business Advisor podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about the shadow communicator. Yeah, the shadow communicator. You know the one, the person who pops up in some area of the business as a communications hire, or more often a contractor or a freelancer. They're to help the business communicate because you said no to their irrelevant requests, or because you don't have enough staff to support the business the way that you'd really like. So up pops the shadow communicator, the person who's sitting inside a business area entirely disconnected from the communications function and undermining all that you've done to focus on communicating the critical, authentic messages that your audience truly needs to know. You're doing your very best to train your audience to pay attention rather than training them to ignore you with a mass volume of irrelevant messaging. But then, bam, in comes the shadow communicator. They show up excited to support the specific business area that they're working for. And often, this shadow communicator is the epitome of communications waitressing. They take orders from the business area and are often layers and layers deep in the organization, doing task-driven request response work. It's awful. Some of you out there might even be shadow communicators yourselves, and you might have your backup right now thinking that you're not the problem. The reporting inside the business area makes sense, but this isn't about the reporting structure necessarily, and it's not even really about you. It's about the decision to hire within a business area and surprise the central function with a person that is a giant, I won't say the two words that start with an F and end with a YOU. Let's just say it's a disrespectful message to the leader of the communications function. So if it sounds like you're a shadow communicator, know that the problem isn't you, or at least if you're listening to this podcast, it's probably not you, because you probably have some skills and knowledge in the field. And if you're listening to this, you respect it. But there are plenty out there who are not skilled in this field at all. Because teams that have no idea what to look for and oversimplify what we do, IT, marketing, HR, other functions, they often hire people who also don't know what we do. So they hire a shadow communicator. As a shadow communicator, so you might find yourself in a precarious spot right now. You're doing your best to support a business area, but you get how it's inefficient for the whole of the company. But there are some things you can do to make your life easier while respecting this field that you're in. So listen in, because if you're listening to this podcast and you're a shadow communicator, it's because you're one of the good ones stuck in a tough spot. Now, others out there right now, probably most of you, are listening and might hear the story of the shadow communicator and your blood is boiling, thinking about the shadow communicators out there who are undermining your hard work to respect the audience's time and focus, to elevate messaging on the critical things, the things that truly matter. Because we know in this field that it's not just about what can be communicated. It's about what resonates. And there's only so much time and attention that you can get from your audience. So it's crazy frustrating when someone just pops up out of nowhere, taking direction from a business area and sending out messaging that distracts the audience from the critical stuff, especially if you're measuring on message resonance, which I advise everybody to do. Noise is not ever welcome, but it's especially not welcome if you have your measurement and success on the line. I mean, let's really think about this for a second. In what other area of the business is someone just hired in a decentralized capacity with no connection to the center of the area of expertise? I can't think of one. I'd love to see an internal recruiter hired within a business area because they aren't getting enough support from HR. and not telling the head of HR about it. Think about how the CHRO might respond to that. How about an IT professional hired within, say, marketing to set up new systems and optimize IT performance? How might the CIO feel about that when this person just pops up? Yikes, right? So why is it consistently done when it comes to communications? Well, first, because everyone thinks that communications is easy. Our oversimplified and misunderstood field strikes again. Exhausting, I know. So let's shout it out now. Okay. Everyone communicates. Not everyone is a professional communicator. There's a massive difference. Everyone communicates. Not everyone is a professional communicator. I mean, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but my blood's boiling a bit here too. So here's the thing. If your blood is boiling, think about this. Just know that your challenge isn't with the shadow communicator. Don't place blame on them. It's with the system. It's the system that allows leaders to just command whatever it is they want, hire whomever they want based on the concept that they manage their own budget. And that kind of an autonomous system, if a leader wants to hire a communicator and the CEO isn't adept at understanding communications' impact on a company, it's allowed. Big mistake. Huge. Big mistake. Huge. Huge. A prominent place these shadow communicators pop up is in IT. Another is HR. Sometimes sales and marketing, even when there's a central comms function. I've seen them in all kinds of places in the business, and it's a nightmare for the comms team and for the employees and even the external audiences. So, what do you do to address the problem of shadow communicators? First, let's talk about how to prevent them. Then let's address what to do when they show up anyway. Okay, how to prevent them. If you're in a centralized structure where communications report centrally to one comms leader, then you have significantly more control over this. It's the communications leader's job to have an ear to the ground to hear out business area leaders who might be frustrated or concerned about lack of communication support. Now, the answer to this frustration isn't for them to take their ball and go home, or in this case, hire whoever they want anyway. It's childish and wildly poor leadership, and they may not see it this way until it's pointed out to them in a subtle way. This is an area where, though I'm direct, I'm not so significantly direct. So if you're a business area leader out there, tempted to hire a communicator in your business area because you're not getting the centralized support you need, please stop. For the love of all things, stop for a second. Go address the conflict. Go talk with the comms leader first. Explain what you want to do and why. That you feel the need to hire someone in your team to do the work. You can work it out with the comms leader so that you can get the support you need, but it will be more effective and not ruin the relationships or your reputation if you go address it with them directly. Keep building your reputation as a leader who's collaborative rather than a self-involved steamroller. If you're on the communications end of this one will surprise you, but again, I don't advise being hella direct on this. No is not the answer. Yeah, you're probably shocked to hear that from me because I'm a fan of getting to know when something's unnecessary. I even dubbed it the word of the year for communicators because we need to allow ourselves to become more advisory and less order taking. But here's where the art happens in the art of our field. It's true that you can't bend to every whim or demand from a business area. You, as the communications leader, are the communications expert, not them. But, and this is the key here, if they are feeling that they need to hire someone to get the work done that they perceive that they need, then there is a massive miscommunication happening and also a big opportunity. Dig into the reason for this feeling. Maybe their team isn't skilled at communicating. Maybe they don't see it as their role. Maybe they think it's simpler than it actually is. They probably think it's simpler than it actually is. Maybe they're feeling pressure to elevate their team's work internally. We all see the internal politics at play in a corporate environment, and there's guaranteed something or some level of internal politics that you're not seeing. So let's take one real world example here. There could be, let's say, jockeying for promotions and competition between two leaders. And then coupled with this, there could be feedback that one leader receives that no one sees the impact of their work, including the CEO. That's the kind of stuff that makes nightmares for a leader, including the comms leader, because you'll feel the pressure coming out sideways, directed at your area. If a leader hears that they aren't visible enough with their accomplishments, their response is to shout it to everybody. Everybody everywhere needs to know, even though that wasn't the intent of the feedback. And then their problem becomes your problem. So what do? First, hear out that leader. Read between the lines. No one's going to tell you that they received performance feedback telling them that they aren't visible enough with accomplishments. But they might say that the company needs to know more about the work that they're doing. Your gut reaction as a communicator is to mentally, inside your brain, but not out loud, ask, why? Everything people here do is important, otherwise we wouldn't do it. So why is what you're doing so important? Don't go there. I'm a big fan of finding the why, but in this case, instead, go to the who. Okay, so who do you really think needs to know about what you're up to? Who specifically? If they go to the place of everyone, then point out the obvious. Why does everyone in the company need to know about this software upgrade that will only affect 10% of the staff? I'm wondering if this is something that's more important for the senior leaders to know so they can be aware of the efficiency that's gained. Is that the case? Suss it out. Give some ideas. You might just get a light bulb from them. And then use your investigative skills to dig in more and figure out what's not being said. You might say something like, we do want to ensure that the right people know about the right work. We have a few options. We could help you and your team target the right audiences with the right message. In this scenario, it might be more like training someone else on his or her team to target messages to fellow senior leaders or to a group within his or her own department. Or train that person who they plan on hiring and offer to have them report to you. A different approach might be sharing with them that you'd love to take on more help for him and his team, and then share the structure of your current team and what they're working on, and how you could add support with some budget sent your way. You can manage the work and the individual and ensure the heavy lift of people management is taken care of. But the work they do will find all of the right opportunities to be elevated into a more central communications set, as well as targeted communications. That's a big win-win. To be fair, an egotistical person might not want to give you the budget support because they want the power to say yes and no to the work. There are ways to deal with that too. Call it out. Seriously, ask them. Do you want this person reporting to you so you have authority over what they do and how? Do you trust me to do the right thing for the business? Make them say it. They don't trust you. They won't say it. They won't. Remember, this is a control thing, a concern thing, a risk thing for them. If you fail, their career might be impacted. You're asking them to put this in your hands. So you have to build their trust. You might get to a stalemate in that first conversation, but that's okay. The first no is not the final no. This is something that the women in the Raise the Tide group know pretty strongly about me. It's a mantra. But then, when you hear that first no, you can start pointing out the work that could be done by you and your team if you had support. You can reground your relationship, and you both see, and I mean that like in air quotes here, you both see what each other is dealing with. They know you don't have endless staff. You know that they need your help. You can solve this together. Okay. But what happens if someone just pops up out of nowhere unexpectedly? First, you'll probably see the job description first and shut it down then. You're not overreacting. Go have the conversation I just covered. Proactively address it with the person who's leading that business area. Second, if you somehow miss it and they're hired, make them your pal. Help them see the benefit of being connected to the center, even informally. Invite them into parts of your team meetings or ask them if they could share their comms plans. No one likes to feel like the odd person out in a group. It feels risky and scary. But at the same time, know that they were hired to please someone else. So there will be times where you, and even they, know that the thing that they're doing will be wrong. Pick your battles, because you can't pick them all. And use the opportunity to point out to the leader how you can make it better if they worked with you. Better for them, that is. Not necessarily you. Always focus on them. Often, the shadow communicator will be layers deep in the organization. Still, your conversations remain with them and with the leader of the business area. Eventually, the goal is to get them to either report to you or to feel so engaged and connected that it's not even necessary. And ensure that every other business area doesn't try to copy the same crappy thing, but getting ahead to those business areas and share what you could do to support them if you had more staff and resource. Create allies. You can do this. Now, before I go, one more thing. I'm creating a new exclusive insight sent via email on a regular basis. After each podcast episode, I'll share an additional insight on the topic we discussed, a lesson or a tip we didn't cover here, and often tips from other leaders in the field. If you want access to these exclusive insights and more, go visit McDonagh.com and sign up. You can find the website in the show notes. That's it for today's episode of the Communications Business Advisor podcast. If you like this episode, please leave a rating or a review and share the episode with a friend. We ignite a movement when we share a message. Until next time, bye. The Communications Business Advisor podcast is brought to you by Raise the Tide, the program for women communications leaders and emerging leaders working in the corporate environment. Raise the Tide is part community, part coaching, part professional development, and part mentorship. The program advances women in their careers and activates these trailblazers to advance our vision of a corporate world that not only invites communications leaders to act as critical advisors, but expects them to. A rising tide raises all ships, but we're not the ships. Together, we're the force of the tide raising the ships for our entire industry. For more information, visit www.raisethetide.net. If you're interested in working with me to advance your work and your team's reputation as critical business advisors, never order takers, check out McDonagh.com. Thanks for listening to the Communications Business Advisor podcast. If you found this episode helpful, please leave a rating or a review. It helps people find us, and we can't ignite a movement without sharing the message. See you next time, where we'll continue to do the work to elevate our field's reputation and elevate the careers of the people in it.